A family has been torn apart by a tragic secret behind the bright lights of the White House press room. The Fox News reporter known for posing difficult questions, Peter Doocy, has been going through a personal hell. Shocking speculations of his departure from the network have followed the devastating diagnosis of his wife, Hillary Vaughn, which has been circulating like wildfire. Is he truly bidding farewell to everything? Nobody could have predicted how frightening and convoluted the truth is. Terrifying rumors concerning Hillary Vaughn, the wife of Peter Doocy, have been circulating on the internet for months. These tales depict a young family in difficulty, dealing with a medical issue that has been kept out of the public spotlight. Numerous stories claim that Hillary has been battling a serious, unidentified ailment. The message is obvious despite the lack of specifics. There's a serious problem. According to the scariest of these reports, Hillary has been fighting cancer. According to these stories, the couple's courage and fortitude have been put to the test throughout a protracted and challenging battle. Hillary reportedly had a major surgery in April 2022, according to some accounts, which even include detailed, terrifying details. Fans and watchers are extremely worried about the family's welfare because it is sad to think of a young mother going through such a hardship. However, the tale only got more muddled as people looked for more information. Other stories that directly contradicted the cancer narrative started to appear. According to several sources, Hillary Vaughn is in excellent health and isn't dealing with any significant health problems. This led to a chaos storm. How could there be two utterly different stories going around at the same time? Did she feel ill or not? Because some blogs couldn't even correctly pronounce her name, referring to Peter's wife as Amanda, Helen, or Rachel, the mystery grew even more complicated. Everyone was left wondering what was actually happening behind closed doors due to contradicting information. Was this all a horrible miscommunication, or was the Doocy family concealing a dreadful secret? It turns out that the solution is a combination of both. The Doocy family's heartbreaking diagnostic narrative is entirely accurate, but the incorrect individual has been the focus of everyone's attention. Wait to find out what actually transpired if you believe you know the truth. In the background, Peter Doocy and Hillary Vaughn were quietly establishing a life together, while the world conjectured about their personal hardships. A life they jealously defended from the world. Their romance started at work, where they spent the majority of their time. At Fox News, both are skilled reporters. Hillary joined the Fox business desk in 2016, and Peter began working for the network shortly after graduating from college in 2009. She had previously been assigned to Manchester, New Hampshire, as a member of the second class of the Fox News Junior Reporter Program, in order to obtain practical reporting experience. No one knew they were a couple, even though they worked together for years, covering the nation's most important topics. They didn't disclose their relationship to their co-workers in the public eye. It was a romance that was not readily apparent. Therefore, the Fox News headquarters were rocked when Peter announced their engagement in 2020. People were in disbelief. Despite working with them for years, they were completely unaware that they were partners. Like their courtship, their wedding was intimate and private. In April 2021, they were married in a stunning wedding at the Montage Palmetto Bluff in South Carolina, the same resort where Justin Bieber and Hailey Baldwin had already exchanged vows. Their wedding was originally scheduled for January, but they had to reschedule because of pandemic limitations. The event became even more intimate and smaller as a result of the delay. They decided to celebrate their wedding day with just 18 guests, their closest friends and family, instead of a massive media spectacle. Steve Doocy, Peter's father, was his proud best man. Pictures from the outdoor celebration show Hillary looking gorgeous in a long-sleeved wedding dress with beautiful flower patterns, and Peter looking dapper in a navy blue tuxedo. Steve Doocy posted pictures on his own Instagram account, stating, "Welcome to the Doocy family, Hillary Vaughn." Hillary also posted a picture of them cutting their cake, captioning it, "Life with you takes the cake. We are very happy for you two." Because of their strong desire to keep information private, the couple was left with very little information about their personal lives, which made them a prime target for online rumors. The absence of a public narrative made it possible for the false rumors about a health crisis to gain traction and spread because there was no official statement from the couple to refute them. The truth of their family life was about to become very public in the most joyful way possible. Peter and Hillary's journey from a secret couple to a growing family has been as remarkable as their private romance, which unintentionally created the ideal environment for misinformation to flourish. In September 2022, they appeared on Fox and Friends during a segment for a new cookbook written by Peter's parents, Steve and Kathy. And Steve said, "The food is great if you're really hungry." They decided to share the news of their first pregnancy in a way that felt natural to them on live television with family. Peter then added, pointing to his wife, "And Hillary is hungry all the time." Hillary smiled as she broke the big news, saying, "That's because I'm eating for two." The studio erupted in celebration as a sonogram photo appeared on the screen, announcing the birth of their first child, a gorgeous baby girl named Bridget Blake Doocy, on February 2023. She weighed 8 lb 1 oz and measured 21 inches in length. Hillary's path to motherhood was anything but typical. In a story that exemplifies her extraordinary commitment to her profession, she joked that she knew the locations of all the offices for senators who had previously been doctors after her water broke on her way to work on Capitol Hill. Fortunately, she didn't need to call any of them to get the baby. Meanwhile, Peter was receiving fatherly guidance from the world's most powerful man when he asked President Joe Biden for advice on being a new father at a White House holiday party. The president was moved by the question and gave him straightforward but insightful guidance. Hold her close. Their family expanded once more just over 2 years later, and on April 16, 2025, also their wedding anniversary, George Jack Doocy was born. Amazingly, Hillary was once again juggling the demands of her work and her upcoming motherhood until the very last minute. Hillary joked, "Maybe he was tired of hearing me talk about taxes. I don't blame him." She was on Capitol Hill reporting live about tax day just hours before George was born, and she went straight from her TV report to a routine doctor's appointment where her OB informed her the baby was ready to come out. Today, the family of 4 resides in a gorgeous 5-bedroom home in Fairfax, Virginia, which they bought for $1.68 million in 2023. The setting is ideally situated 40 minutes away from the White House, where Peter works as one of the nation's most well-known correspondents. The real story of their family life is one of extraordinary strength rather than illness and hardship. Hillary Vaughn, the woman who was allegedly sidelined by a tragic illness, was actually a powerhouse, a devoted journalist who covered American politics just hours before giving birth to both of her children. But how did her husband end up being such a lightning rod for public attention in the first place? He is the eldest child of Steve Doocy, the longtime co-host of the popular morning show Fox and Friends, and a member of a Fox News dynasty, making him one of the most prominent and combative journalists in Washington, D.C. Her tenacity is the real headline, a powerful truth that was lost in a sea of false rumors. Peter grew up surrounded by television news, but his parents really hoped he would pursue something else, like business or law, but the lure of journalism was too great. And he was hired right away by Fox News, the same network where his father had become well known after earning a political science degree from Villanova University in 2009. His father served as his coach from the start, just as he had done for Peter's middle school baseball team years before, and Steve even offered to coach the team to ensure that Peter, who was on a very competitive team, would have a chance to play. He was already contributing to the network while in college as a reporter for a show called Peastra.net. Afraid that his son would make a mistake on live television, Steve would watch every report in the early days of Peter's reporting career, holding his breath for the full 2 minutes. When Peter called him for an honest evaluation, Steve would give him advice, sharing his own mistakes so Peter could avoid them. Before landing in Washington, D.C., in 2010, Peter's career took him to New York and Chicago, where he covered some of the nation's biggest stories, such as the Boston Marathon bombing, the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting, and the manhunt for 2 escaped prisoners in Dannemora, New York. Peter didn't just happen to be Steve Doocy's son. He was a relentless and incisive reporter who wasn't afraid to ask the hard questions. His career really took off in 2021 when he was appointed a White House correspondent. In 2014, he secured a huge exclusive, the first television interview with Robert O'Neill, the Navy SEAL who says he fired the shot that killed Osama bin Laden. At the time, the documentary, The Man Who Killed Osama bin Laden, had the highest ratings of any documentary on Fox News. During White House press briefings, he gained notoriety for his persistent and frequently combative questioning style. His daily verbal sparring matches with press secretaries, first Jen Psaki and later Karine Jean-Pierre, became must-watch television, with heated but occasionally light-hearted back and forths about the administration's policies. In January 2022, after Peter shouted a question about inflation, President Joe Biden was caught on camera calling him a stupid son of a bee. The president then called Peter in person to clear the air, demonstrating the special bond between the two. His unrelenting approach resulted in a number of memorable moments. This high-profile confrontational role is what makes Doocy a constant topic of conversation. His time at the White House has been so eventful that even nature seems to have taken notice. On live television, during one live report from the White House lawn, a bird swooped down, landed on his head, then dive-bombed him before flying away. The public's fascination with his personal life stems from his role as a key character in the daily drama of American politics, and his reputation as the unyielding reporter made him an ideal target for rumors, because his private and public lives are constantly scrutinized. This leads us to the last and most perplexing rumor of all. Peter's mother, Kathy Garrett, the wife of Fox News anchor Steve Doocy, was the victim of the actual cancer nightmare that shook the Doocy family, not Hillary Vaughn. Her journey was a terrifying ordeal that started in the most mundane way possible. In 2015, Kathy and Steve went to their eye doctor for a routine checkup to get new prescriptions for sunglasses. A tiny freckle on the back of Kathy's eye caught the doctor's attention during the inspection, but he said it was probably nothing to worry about and invited her to return for a follow-up in a few months just to be safe. The mood immediately shifted when they returned for the second appointment. After a single glance, the doctor realized something was amiss and promptly referred them to a specialist who recommended that they visit one of the nation's top eye hospitals, Wills Eye Hospital in Philadelphia. Despite the massive blizzard that was closing down the entire New York area, Steve and Kathy continued to drive at 5 in the morning on a snow-covered highway, filled with a sense of dread. The devastating news came after a full day of tests from a renowned eye specialist named Carol Shields, who looked at them and said, "Kathy, you have eye cancer." The diagnosis was ocular melanoma, a very rare and deadly form of cancer, and Steve and Kathy felt as though they were out of breath. The biggest worry was that the cancer might spread from her eye to other parts of her body, such as her liver or lungs, as this type of cancer frequently does. In a matter of weeks, Kathy started radiation therapy, and the most difficult nights were when she lay awake, worried about what might happen if this treatment didn't work, while her 3 kids slept in the adjacent room of their hotel. On one of these restless nights, Kathy made the decision to write down all of her family recipes for her kids just in case. When she and Steve told her story on television to promote one of their family cookbooks years after she was cancer-free, a pastor halfway across the nation noticed that Kathy's story sounded exactly like what his friend Vicky had just been diagnosed with. That act of love would later make her a best-selling cookbook author, but Kathy's story is not just one of fear, it's one of incredible impact. He called her right away and told her to look up Kathy's story online. Vicky's doctor had given her 2 treatment options: radiation therapy or enucleation, which would involve removing her entire eye. Vicky was considering having the eye removed to eradicate all of the cancer at once, but she changed her mind after learning that Kathy had successfully fought the same cancer with radiation. The pastor later told Steve that he thinks Kathy's story saved Vicky's life. Kathy has been cancer-free for more than 5 years, which is a true blessing for the entire Doocy family. She still faces significant challenges from the effects of the radiation, but she is a survivor. She chose radiation, and the treatment worked. The tumor shrank, and she was able to keep her eye and her vision. The final piece of this perplexing puzzle is the rumor that Peter Doocy is leaving Fox News, which frequently went hand in hand with the false story about his wife's health, creating a dramatic narrative that he was leaving his high-profile career to care for his sick wife. She now donates a lot of the money from their cookbooks to eye cancer research in the hopes of one day ending this terrible disease. Similar to the health rumors, however, the story of his departure is a case of mistaken identity. In reality, Peter Doocy is not leaving Fox News. In fact, his career is better than ever, as he was recently named co-host of a brand new show called The Sunday Briefing, a role he shares with fellow correspondent Jackie Heinrich, and was promoted to senior White House correspondent in June 2024. His father, Steve Doocy, who announced a significant change to his role in May 2025 after more than 25 years as a full-time presenter while reclining on the iconic curving sofa of Fox and Friends, is the source of the farewell rumor. He is taking on additional responsibility. Fans and colleagues alike were taken aback by his tearful announcement that he was leaving his daily in-studio duties in New York City, explaining that it was time for a change after decades of waking up at 3:30 in the morning for his commute. However, Steve Doocy is not retiring, a move that he and the network had been planning for some time. After moving to Florida with his wife Kathy, he now appears 3 days a week as a traveling co-host for the show, explaining that this new role would allow him to report from regions of the country that don't typically receive network airtime, such as the Carolinas and the Keys. and that it also allows him to do something he hasn't been able to do for years: have breakfast with his family and grandchildren. Even former President Donald Trump recorded a video tribute for his final day on the couch, congratulating him on his new role, which was the real farewell story. The rumor mill combined the fact that a famous Doocy was changing his role at Fox News with the untrue story about Hillary's health. The mystery of the title is finally solved. The tragic diagnosis belonged to his mother, and the farewell belonged to his father. The story of Peter Doocy and Hillary Vaughn is not the tragedy that the rumors suggest. They made up a more dramatic but wholly false story that blamed the departure on the wrong Doocy for the wrong reasons. They are a testament to resilience, demonstrating that although rumors may circulate, the reality of a happy, healthy, and expanding family is what really counts. Their true story is not one of illness or farewells, but rather one of quiet strength, intense loyalty, and a strong commitment to creating a private family life in the face of intense public scrutiny.